Hello. In today's video, we will review Microthermo Alliance. Watching this video should give you a basic understanding of navigation and the features and benefits of the Microthermo Alliance control platform. Consider it Microthermo Alliance 101. Okay, let's get started. So what is Microthermo Alliance? It is a state-of-the-art facility management software platform. We control, we monitor, we gather information and data, and we create historical graphs. But we're more than just a control or monitoring platform. We are a true management tool. And all of the views are based on a Windows graphical format. So if you're an experienced user of Windows, if you know how to cut, paste, drag, drop, select, zoom, you already know intuitively how to navigate through Microthermo Alliance. So with Microthermo Alliance, it's all connected. When you log in, you go to the main landing page, which is a floor plan of the store or facility, and you get a comprehensive overview. You can quickly scan the entire store to make sure that all of the equipment is operating properly. You get a menu tab across the top, which guides you to other screens so that you can monitor your entire refrigeration system. The floor plan is color-coded and easily identifies alarm situations, and then you can zoom in for real-time operating data with just one left click. Here's a virtual layout of a complex system. So with Microthermo, we can help you monitor and navigate the entire system by breaking it down to its individual component views. So with Microthermo, we believe that the power of the platform is information. And we decided, let's take a look at everyone who might have to interact with Microthermo Alliance. What would they need? What are the needs of folks in installation and commissioning, in monitoring, retail staff, food quality and food safety personnel, finance, energy, operations, engineering, and service and maintenance technicians? We try to provide something of use and benefit to anyone who has to interact with Microthermo Alliance. So what do we do? Well, facility control. Our main sandbox is supermarkets. We have over 300 CO2 installations across North America. We also do frozen and refrigerated warehouse, ice skating rinks, marine refrigeration, food processing and preparation facilities, ice cream processing and production, pharmaceutical process and storage, DNA laboratories, just to name a few. So when we designed Microthermo, we said, okay, what are the needs of the facility operators and owners? Well, they want to reduce food loss and improve food quality. They want to extend product shelf life. They want to optimize the temperature control for both the product and the environment it's in. Want to reduce service costs, reduce energy costs, reduce management costs, reduce facility costs, and of course, at the bottom line, increase profitability. Now, what are the goals and needs of a contractor? Well, to make it an effective platform, they need real-time smart alarm notification, which you can get via text message, email, or both. The 5 W's of technician accountability, the who, why, what, when, and where of alarms in the store. You get virtual remote troubleshooting, remote graphing and analysis. We keep up to 5 years of system history on board. You're able to remotely make modifications of set point changes such as superheat, suction pressure, defrost schedule, overrides. You get an electronic service log, an alarm event triage report. And again, what do we want to do? We want to reduce labor. We want to reduce service costs. We want to reduce energy and management costs. Bottom line, we want to help increase your profitability. So Microthermo Alliance is graphical user interface. You can get to anywhere you want to go in a system just by going from one window to another. So do you want to interrogate energy, lighting, HVAC, self-generation, VFD, temperature monitoring, rack control, leak detection? You simply go from one window to the next. So with Microthermo Alliance, our bedrock is accountability, traceability, and security. Access accountability. We recommend and require individual username and passwords. On the individual level, we can give different level of access for technicians and end users. Individual traceability, the activity and history is tracked and retained. That allows folks who interrogate the store to take a look historically and see what other users or other technicians have done to help in their troubleshooting process. We try to stress, please, no backdoor usernames or generic passwords. Why? It eliminates recommissioning and it prevents the energy profile of the store from degrading over time. It also eliminates unauthorized set point changes, the jumping out of components, and device disabling. So with Microthermo Alliance, we say it is the power of information. So it's intelligent distributed control, it's intuitive Windows-based graphical user interface. You can have up to 8 workstations within the store or facility. We retain the history for up to 5 years. As far as CO2 control, we can do both transcritical and subcritical. We have over 300 installations in North America over the last 8 years. Our communication network is standard LAN communication, free topology or star topology. All of the subsystems are integrated and managed through one front end. Customizable icons and templates make setup and commissioning and troubleshooting easy. And lastly, colorful visual indicators enable facility management at a glance. So the landing page looks like this, and you have a tool, an icon bar across the top. You also have a menu bar at the very top of the window. Then you have your event and alarm list, which aggregates in the center of the view. Your subsystems drop down from the left. Your different permission modes drop down from the center, and your different store views drop down from the right. So anywhere you need to go, any function you need to do in Alliance is just a few clicks away. So you notice the stoplight in the slides, and we do that because we use the basic red, amber, and green, or red, yellow, and green as a warning indicator. So if you see one of the icons has become a red square, that means you have an active alarm and you need to take action. If you see one of the nodes icons is now a yellow diamond, that is something that is not fully programmed, or it's an alarm in recall. And if you see everything are green circles, that means all systems are go, all temperatures, all pressures, and all nodes are A-OK. So the 3 basic colors are, again, red, yellow, green. We also use orange if you have a fixture or surface in defrost. Teal or bright blue, that means you have a fixture, fan, valve, or compressor in override. If you see one of the node icons is white, that means it's unconfigured or not commissioned. And if one of the nodes should turn black, that means that node has gone offline. So here's an example of an active alarm and how you resolve it. On the landing page, you can see the refrigeration subsystem has gone to a red square. The alarm klaxon is also a red square. You have an indicator right here in the 5W section, the who, why, what, when, where, that you have an active alarm. And if you look closely at the floor plan, you see that the green node icon has also gone to a red square. So you simply left click one time, and that zooms you in to that portion of the store or facility, and you can take a look real time at the temperature and the fixture itself. You want more information? You left click again, and now you zoom in to the process page. And in the process page, you will get an active graph. You'll get the history of that device or fixture in terms of the alarms or notification that has happened. And to acknowledge it, you simply click the button right here that says acknowledge. You'll have to enter your username again and your password and put a brief description of what you did to solve this alarm issue. So with Microthermo, you can tie all of your subsystems and fixtures and devices together. So, you want to take a look at the 24/7 defrost schedule? No problem. Do you want to take a look at a custom control process set up in Alliance? Not a problem. You go to that window. Do you want the virtual view of the rack where all of your temperatures and pressures are shown virtually on a screen? You simply go to that view. Or perhaps you'd like the Microthermo 500 legacy view where everything is aggregated into columns. That is still available. Or do you want to investigate a third-party item like a Bacharach leak detector? You can interrogate that right through the Microthermo front end. So with facility management, we say, if you don't see it, if you don't measure it, if you don't analyze it, then you truly cannot manage it. So let's take a look now at some of the onboard tools and reports from Microthermo Alliance. The first one I'll cover is changes made by users. Now, where do you find these? If you go to the very, very top of the view, you have your choices: File, Access, Subsystems, View, Events, and Reports. So right now I'm going to be going over what you can find in Events and Reports. And the first one is changes made by users. What this does is it keeps a complete history of a rolling 5 years of the date and time of the change, the username of the person or individual that made the change, the identification of the change, the component that they were working on, and a complete description of the change that was made. If you want to narrow down the scope of your investigation, with all of our reports, there is a from and a to window where you can look at a day, a week, a month, or a year. You can actually choose by username if you want to investigate a particular end user or technician. And then that report will refile and then print right to the screen. The other report that I'm going to talk about is acknowledged events. Now, what this does is it takes every single event that has occurred in your store or facility and it keeps it historically. It tells you what was the priority, high, medium, low, or just a simple notification, the date and time that it occurred, the event source, where did it come from? The rack B, did it come from the salad bar, etc. The event description, who acknowledged it, what end user or what technician, what date and time, and what subsystem it came from. Now, the report that I like to use is Acknowledged Event Statistics. Sometimes I refer to it as the triage report. And what that does is it takes all of the acknowledged events and aggregates it and puts it into groups so that you can find a needle in a haystack much easier. So let's take a look at this screen. So we see in this particular installation, the grocery freezer control temp, there were 2 events, no recalls, for a total of 26 hours. But if you look all the way to the bottom, you can see there's 115 hours worth of alarms. Well, where did that come from? It stands out like a sore thumb. Grocery freezer door ajar, 59 events, 57 hours. Dairy cooler, Durajar, 47 events for a total of 46 hours. With microthermo, our philosophy is alarms do not disappear. They have to be acknowledged by a human. Either a store personnel or a technician has to react to the alarm. So what this does, rather than going through every single event that has occurred, it takes that and it aggregates it, puts it on report, and it helps you find the bad actors in your store or facility. Another useful tool is the trend graph tool. You can have a total of 7 graphs per screen in trend graph. You can graph a case controller, superheat, temperature, pressure, or in this case, you can see the technician was taking a look at the rack. He was looking at the discharge pressure in rack A, the outlet pressure of the gas cooler, the daily oil demands, and the oil level switch, 0 being off, 1 being on. So my guess would be that this technician was troubleshooting an oil problem for the medium temp rack A. And then finally, the system log. Microthermo Alliance is the front end. It is the software platform that allows you to control and monitor and interrogate an operating refrigeration system. However, in the back, you have the operating system, the physical computer itself. And what the system log does is it keeps, again, a 5-year history of everything that has occurred in the store, the date, the time, the severity of the issue, and the message. So you can see here that an unknown user tried to log on to the account 37DJ while ABC Tech was logged on. So anything that has to do with the Windows operating system is found in what is called the system log. Now, all of these are onboard tools and reports. You do not have to create them. They are already contained within Microthermo Alliance, and as I said earlier, you can narrow down the time period, okay? You can, for this system log, you can do a day, a week, a month, or a year, and you can do a severity level. You don't have to look at everything. You could only take a look at critical issues rather than taking a look at every issue regarding the operating system. So now let's talk briefly about the Echelon protocol that we use for Alliance. We like international LAN, the true LAN, because over 100 million devices are currently using it, over 300,000 buildings. Many of the transit systems throughout the world use LAN. Many famous buildings, museums, etc. use LAN. So we have over 27 years relied upon LAN for the communication protocol and the hardwired network that Microthermo Alliance works on. So with Microthermo Alliance, we use LANWorks. It is a platform that enables manufacturers to use distributed intelligence and communication capabilities of all of their products and ties them together. It is an open technology available on equal terms to manufacturers all over the world, and it's a worldwide standard for implementing plug and play so we can deliver interoperable products and systems so that we can control other devices. I mentioned the back-of-rack leak detector, but it could be a VFD, it could be a chiller skid, it could be a rooftop HVAC system. As long as it has an Echelon chip, we can integrate it directly into Microthermo Alliance. So with Echelon Network or LANWorks, the point is we want to reduce the cost of installation by doing less wiring and less labor by using free topology or a star network. We want to reduce the cost of any additions, moves, or changes because most times you can reconfigure logically rather than having to do it physically. Improve performance and reliability because the system tasks are distributed across across all of the smart nodes in the facility. So if one node fails, the overall system is not affected. And it makes easier integration of different systems, no matter who the manufacturer is. If it's true international free echelon, it's achieved through interoperability. So again, we use either free or star topology, FTT10, 78K bits per second. You can have up to 64 simple nodes, up to 50 complex nodes, and you can have each channel a distance of 500 meters, which is roughly 1,640 feet. So the networks can be quite large. So I mentioned distributed control. Many other modalities, you may have one central store controller that has to make the decision for every device and board that's operating within the system. With Microthermo, we use what are called smart nodes, and we distribute the smart nodes throughout the facility: condenser, rooftop, lights, at the rack, in the cases, etc. And they are all tied together through a Windows 10, what we call an HMI, a human machine interface. So this is a store controller. This is just an interface that allows you to interrogate and investigate all of these nodes that are operating within the Echelon network. So here's a basic example of a network. The backbone would be the Windows 10 industrial computer, an alarm node, real-time clock, and 2 schedulers. You then break the store or facility down into channels. If it is a large facility, it's a good idea to start with a router, and then you can simply have the channel contain anywhere from 50 to 64 nodes. Refrigeration rack A, again, start it with a router and connect all of the devices together. And you could have rack A, rack B, rack C, rack D, however many racks the facility or store has contained within. Your HVAC system could be put on a channel, and your lighting system can be put on a channel. And the rule is you can start with a router, you can go 50 complex nodes or 63 simple nodes, and if you need to make the system larger, you can add a repeater, and that allows you to go another 500 meters or 1,640 feet, plus another 50 complex nodes or 63 simple nodes. So lastly, the resistance in each one of these channels needs to be 53 as a minimum, 58 as a maximum. But again, simple breakdown. Here's your backbone or near side, and all of these channels here would be called the far side. And as you can have as many channels as you need to complete the network for your facility or your store. So again, it starts with a Windows 10 industrial computer. This is not a store controller. It is the human machine interface. Your backup of the store profile resides on this device, and this device is also used to call out to the internet so you can get your text or email notifications of alarms going on in the store or the facility. The next device you would have would be the Echelon network adapter, and then right after that you would have your alarm node. And on your alarm node you have a real-time clock, scheduler number 1 and scheduler number 2. Those are the basic near side or backbone components in the system. So it's a good time now to talk about hardware. So let's start with the Alliance Smart Nodes, the MP500 series, or the legacy nodes. With the 500 configurable smart nodes, they have many uses. They can be used for HVAC rooftop units, they can be used for refrigeration, they can be used for lighting, they can be used for energy, they can control a chiller skid, whatever you need to do. They're powered by a 24-volt center tap transformer. The microthermal smart nodes are self-operating. What does that mean? That means they do need to be connected to the network, and you program and configure them through the HMI, the human machine interface. But once they're programmed and configured, they become self-operating. They each have 8 universal inputs, and each smart section on the left, that's the microcomputer, has a neuron, a transceiver, memory, and logic. Now, where do they get their names from? The 504 has 4 digital outputs or relays. The 508 has 8 digital outputs or relays. And the 512 has 12 digital outputs or relays. And no matter whether it is a 504, a 508, or a 512, they all have 8 universal inputs and 4 analog outputs. Now, these are the smart nodes that we've been using for the last 25 years or so. We now have gone from the MT500 hardware platform to the MT700 platform. And the very first MT700 node we came out with was the case controller. Again, it's easily configurable through the Windows Alliance front end. It's optimized for CO2 control, but we can control any of the common refrigerants that are used in commercial and industrial refrigeration systems. Smart fan control, true pressure and temperature superheat control, like a standard mechanical Sporlan expansion valve does a true pressure temperature superheat. Well, that's the same philosophy we do with microthermal case controllers. Or, if need be, we can simply do case temperature control and use superheat as a backup. 3 sets of temperature alarms are on board. You can use a cumulative alarm for improved food safety and reduced product shrinkage. And the process model used has a custom PID with an intelligent algorithm, so it controls the valve position for each type of case depending upon its design, its evaporative load, and its predictive load with smart fan control. We give you a few ways to control the fixture or case. You can do temperature control with superheat limit. You can do superheat control with temperature limit. You can do superheat control as the priority. You can do temperature control as a priority. I can tell you that all of the CO2 stores that I have done have all been set up for temperature control with superheat limit. That seems to work the best for CO2. And then finally, the fans, the lights, the anti-sweats, and the defrosts can also be controlled directly through the microthermal case controller. From the case controller, we then went on to develop the whole array of MT700 smart nodes. And what we do is we build this up as a train. Each train starts with a MT722F. That is the master or the brains. And it is so powerful that you can then add another 10 nodes to that train for a maximum of 11 smart nodes all on one train. It makes it much more flexible, much more powerful, and yet it reduces cost of the hardware and it reduces the space needed for the installation of the hardware. So again, what do we do with the 700 trains? We can have one train set up that can serve both the refrigeration and the HVAC by collecting the store ambient and the outdoor ambient. And then we can have another 700 here to control the rack, another MT700 train for the circuit control, case controllers in the fixtures or cases, and then we can have another train to control the gas cooler or condenser in a system. So again, the 700 platform offers much more power and way more flexibility in the way you can set it up. So it's modular. All of the trains start with a 722F. You can then add a 748V, which can drive 8 stepper valves. You can have an MT784A that gives you 8 universal inputs and 4 relay outputs. You can also use a 708R, which gives you 8 relay outputs. And then finally, you can use an MT766A, which is a combo node that gives you 4 relay outputs, 8 universal inputs, and 2 analog outputs. So it gives you the flexibility to mix and match the type of smart nodes you put on individual Microthermo 700 trains. Now, we do have some specialty trains, for instance, the MT700 2-valve controller. Its initial intended use was for flash gas bypass control, controlling the gas cooler valve and the flash gas bypass valve. But we now can use this controller option for main defrost valve control. You can take a Parker A8, A9, turn it into an electronic valve, and we can control and monitor the A8 and A9 valves as we turn them into an electronic stepper valve. We can also control the Sporlan CDS valves, and we can also do heat reclaim. Now, when we're using it as a gas cooler valve control, what we're doing is the condenser becomes a gas cooler when the CO2 goes beyond the critical point. What we need to do then is we need to have the gas cooler and the flash gas bypass valve work in tandem to make sure that we take the CO2 that may have become a transcritical fluid, and through a huge pressure drop across the gas cooler valve, we get that CO2 back to, as much as possible, 100% liquid CO2, and any gas that has not been converted to liquid, we simply evacuate through the flash gas bypass valve and reprocess it to do work in the system. So the application of Alliance, intelligent refrigeration controls through smart nodes. So for suction group control, we have a PID to control suction pressure. We can float the suction pressure as high as possible as long as we make sure we're making temperature in the cases and fixtures. We have an algorithm that reduces compressor cycling, and we run the minimum amount of compressors to meet the load and to meet temperature. And we disregard any faulty compressors in refrigeration control strategies. So let's just say here's pump 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say compressor 4 fails or is taken offline for repair by the technician. Alliance recognizes that, takes that compressor out of the shuffle, and then shuffles the rest of the compressors to meet the demands and the load until that compressor is fixed. With individual compressor control, everything fails back to the mechanical valves. We equalize the run time. We can support up to 2 unloaders per compressor. We support VFD, not just on the lead compressor, but we can have a VFD on every compressor on the rack. We also monitor and control digital discus and digital scroll. And as far as safety inputs, we have safety line monitoring. We have proof of running. What does that mean? I call for compressor 2 to be on. Is it on? Yes or no. We also give X proof, which is in the inverse of that. That can tell you if you have a compressor that's runaway. So let's say compressor 2 again should be off, but it continues to run. We then will send an X-proof alarm out, but at the same time, the algorithm is smart enough to know that number 2 compressor is going to constantly stay on until it's fixed, and then we can shuffle the deck of the remaining compressors to meet the load understanding that compressor 2 is going to continue to run constantly. As far as condenser or gas cooler control, we could do PID or sequential control. It can be air-cooled or evaporative, fixed or variable speed fans, VFD applications. We can split the logic based on outdoor temp or heat reclaim. Again, there's an automatic fail-safe on board and floating head strategies, which are adaptable. As far as circuit control, we can control the refrigeration, defrost, whether it's off time, electric, or hot gas. And then we also can control the drip cycle. We have an integrated scheduler for each of the refrigerated circuits. We can support the different types of defrost: hot gas, warm gas, cool gas, electric, off cycle, pulse, warm fluid. And then we can terminate defrost either on time or temperature. Microthermo smart nodes can also control HVAC units. Some manufacturers, like Seasons 4, actually use microthermo smart nodes within their equipment. But as long as the rooftop unit has a true echelon chip on board, we can integrate that unit so that you could interrogate, visualize, and troubleshoot that HVAC unit right through the microthermo front end. So we can do rooftop units, air handling units, dual path units, makeup air, variable air, custom applications, and connectivity to third-party lawn devices. We can control based on humidity or dew point. We have built-in load shed for the areas of the country where load shedding is a prerequisite. And we can do heat reclaim for space heat, hot water, and we monitor it to prove its application. As far as anti-sweat is concerned, we can do anti-sweat. We can modulate the anti-sweat heaters based on the dew point in the store or the relative humidity to make sure that we just pulse the heat just enough to keep down any kind of frost or condensation on the doors. And again, built-in load shed functions are on board if required by the geographical location of the store. And then finally, lighting. We control a wide variety of lighting applications. We can do dimmable lighting, daylight harvesting, multiple zone controls. We can offer corporate scheduling capabilities, and of course, built-in load shedding if the area of the country you're operating requires load shedding. And we use an astronomical clock. When we set up a store, we want to know the exact street address and zip code because that converts it to the latitude and longitude of the store so that the lighting schedule changes with the system, with the seasons. So as the days grow longer or grow shorter, the schedule automatically changes seasonality without requiring a human to go in and do overrides or changes of schedule based on seasonality. As far as temperature monitoring is concerned, whether we're using simple input nodes for temperature or case controller, it's easily configured to support all types of sensors and switches. So we can do case temperature, we can do defrost termination, we can look at door ajar switches, we can do pressure transducers, and they can be distributed on the sales floor right near or inside the case. Okay, in the kick plate or on the top of the case if it's a door case. And that can be case controllers or it can be simple input node trains. So with microthermal, we do something that I think is ingenious. We allow you to have 3 types of alarm from one temperature input point. Set 1 is the primary alarm or your basic alarm that gives you a high and low set point for set number 1 and a user-defined priority. Set 2, which is a secondary alarm, usually the efficiency and the food quality staff wants that alarm, and they can have their own specific high and low set points and user-defined priority. And finally, set 3 is a cumulative alarm. Food safety and monitoring staff usually likes this alarm, and again, has its own time period, has its own user-defined alarm priority. And here's what the plugin for the node looks like. You can see Alarm 1 here. Here's your settings for Alarm 1. High limit of 42, low limit of 17.8, and a set time and a recall time of 1 hour and 30 minutes. They've activated set 2. That has a different high. It has a high limit of 39 and a low limit of 24, but the set time is larger. It's 4 hours. And then finally, they're using the food safety cumulative alarm to keep active. That has a period of 4 hours, and it's looking at the delta between set number 2 and set number 1. So you have basic alarm and monitoring capabilities. You also have set 2, which can be used for food quality, process efficiency, and give you a second set of alarm functions. And then finally, your cumulative alarm, which can be used by food safety individuals. So again, in review, it is all connected. Microthermo Alliance gives you a comprehensive overview. You can quickly scan the entire store to make sure that all equipment is operating properly. Menu tabs across the top that allows you to easily navigate to other screens to monitor your entire refrigeration system. The views are color-coded and quickly identifies alarm situations. So the 3 basic colors again: green, everything's go; yellow is caution, you need to take action; and then red tells you something, a device is in active alarm condition. And then again, you zoom in for detailed real-time operating data to any part of the system or subsystems. So Microthermo is graphical user interface, and whether it's a process, whether it's HVAC, energy, lighting, HVAC, generation, temperature monitoring, refrigeration, leak detection, we tie all of those systems and subsystems together. And we say with Microthermo, you can manage your entire store, your entire chain, right from your desktop, your laptop, your tablet, or your smartphone. Thanks very much for your time. If you need further information, please feel free to reach out for me. My email address is cjcunliffe, CUNLIFFE, @parker.com. Thank you very much for watching this video.